I'm Chef Tucker, and life is leveling up. My journey starts off when I was just a little kid. Food was always the center point of any family holiday, family gatherings. I'm from a big Italian family, so food was really important. Anytime I was hungry, my nonna would make me anything I wanted. Pizza, pasta, just any Italian delicacy. She'd whip it up and it was amazing. It was probably some of the best food I've ever eaten in my life. That's really where I first learned that food is love. And I know I say that on the show, but I truly believe that food is love. You know, I enjoy making food for people. I enjoy putting that smile on their face. That's how I learned about food. So I grew up with this love of food, and I never really thought of that as a career path. I didn't really know that that was a career option. And so I grew up thinking I wanted to be a nurse. And I ended up going off to university. And I was majoring in health sciences and Spanish. So I was a double major at Chico State. And eventually I graduated. So I was full blown in that world, right? I was working at hospitals. I was in pediatric rehab. I worked in dementia facilities. And I was off to get my master's at the University of San Francisco. While I was studying for this very intensive, journey that I was about to put myself into, I realized that I wanted to be a chef. I was watching Chef's Table, a documentary on Netflix, and it was Dominique Crenne's episode. And if you don't know who Dominique Crenne is, she is a French female chef from Brittany, France, and she moved to San Francisco and she opened up her restaurant, Atelier Crenne, and it has since gotten 3 Michelin stars. She now has 3 different restaurants, one of which I had the pleasure of working at. It's called Petit Crenne. She was just being a complete badass in the kitchen. If you've never watched this episode, I highly encourage it, because as you're watching this episode, the food that she is, creating, the food that her chefs are creating is literally edible art on a plate. The menus for her restaurant are stories, they're poems. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I'd never wanted something more in my life. I was like, this is the move. Believe yourself, believe in yourself when it feels right. And so I immediately put in my resignation from university, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to culinary school. I went to Le Cordon Bleu out in Sacramento, and I just really hoped that I could make this a viable career choice. And I had a lot of people who told me that this was a stupid idea. A lot of people told me this was a stupid idea. Why would you give up a lucrative career in nursing? Then I learned a lot of women don't make it into these Michelin-starred kitchens. And you know me, there's no way, right? There's no way I was gonna not work hard enough to become one of these chefs that works in one of these amazing restaurants, right? If I have my eye on something, it's basically mine. In my head, I've already considered it mine. Fast forward a year later, I graduated from culinary school. I'm at the top of my class. First thing I went and did was get a job at a pretty well-known Italian restaurant in the Bay Area, and was really stoked with that position. It was when I was working at that restaurant that I realized I wanted more. I need to level up. I left that restaurant chain and I ended up going to work for a different restaurant in the city with some chefs that had worked in really intense Michelin restaurants. Chefs from Bayneuf, chefs from Alinea, these 3 Michelin star restaurants from around the country, people with loads of experience. My goal was to just be a sponge, right? To just soak up everything, soak up all the knowledge, the information, the food, just be a living little sponge. It was intense. Chefs who've worked in Michelin-starred kitchens are not playing. The nature of kitchens is not a nurturing place. It's not a place where your goals are heard, acknowledged, or honestly even cared about to some degree. And so you really have to take it upon yourself to know what your goals are and then be brave enough to go after them. From there, I was like, you know what? This has been great. I've learned a lot. But this is not the end goal. I have bigger things to do. I left that restaurant and I moved to San Francisco knowing that this is a hub of beautiful Michelin star restaurants, maybe I could get my foot in the door here. I'm from the Bay Area, right? I'm a Bay girl over here. So hoping that my hometown, my home city would bring me some luck. So I then found my way over to Acquarello. Acquarello was hiring a butcher at the time. So Acquarello is a 2 Michelin star Italian restaurant here in San Francisco, led and run by Chef Suzette Gresham. So she's the chef owner. And so I show up looking for a job, show up in my little white coat and my little resume all printed out. I'm here for the butchery position. She's like, well, what experience do you have? And I was like, well, about that. I had done no butchery experience at all. And so I was like, chef, I have no butchery experience, but I'm a really fast learner. I really want to do this. I think it's a really cool skill to have. A lot of chefs don't have that skill. I want to learn from the best, and you're a female chef. I want to be a badass female chef. Can I have a job here? Can I learn from you? All I want to do is learn. Lucky for me, Chef Suzette is the type of chef who is very focused on teaching and making sure her cooks learn and grow, and she really truly cares about your goals and where you want to end up and what's the next step and how she can help in that process. So I was extremely lucky to have just randomly found myself here. At the time, Acquarello, it was our 30th year anniversary of being a restaurant, and a restaurant being around that long is incredibly rare. She's held down 2 Michelin stars for years. The Michelin Guide came out. They did a little video of, about Suzette Gresham and about her restaurant, and so I was actually featured in this video. But if you look around this video, I'm the only other female in this kitchen besides Suzette. When I say that this is a male-dominated industry, when I say that it's a boys' club, it's not hyperbole. I'm not just playing. You have to prove every single day that you deserve to be there. You have to fight harder. You have to prove yourself more, and it takes a lot to get a seat at that table. Eventually, I rose up the ranks there, and I got to be the morning sous chef at Acquarello. So I was doing all of the butchery, so the most expensive cuts of meat in the entire world. I get to build all the sauces and the stocks. I make sure that everybody's mise en place is still tight. It was a pleasure to have worked there for as long as I did.
My name is Suzette Gresham. I'm the chef and co-owner of Acquarello restaurant here in San Francisco and New Baby Sorella, just around the corner, for about a year and a half now. This restaurant is in its 34th, almost 35th, somewhere in there. My math's not too good. We opened in 1989. We are a 2-star Michelin restaurant serving what we hope to find in the future as Italian fine dining. And I'm excited to have an opportunity to speak about Chef Lisa Tucker Riccio, because like a mom, I knew her when she was a baby. And as an employer, many times you find people that you think are diamonds in the rough. And I immediately knew when I met Lisa, I'm referred to her as her baby name, sorry, that she was somebody who was driven. She had goals, she had aspirations. And that aligns with something that I truly believe in. The fact that she understood food was love, huge thing to me, because I've always said that. It sounds trite when you say it in commercial kitchen, but it's really important when it's on a plate. Food is love. And you know it when you feel it, you know it when you see it. And even dishes you don't particularly care for, you can tell when there's been love applied, right? So these were key elements for me in discerning if Lisa would be a good fit, right? Tenacity counts for a lot. Tenacity with a level of stubbornness can be dangerous, because then you can't penetrate. But she seems to always temper. She seems to always come back down and gravitate towards what's rational, what fits the moment, what fits the need. And so I think she was able to develop this skill for herself in this environment, because a competition is just that. You don't know who the other competitors are. You don't know how good or bad they are. You only know what you think you can do. And then you're tested to do more than you ever thought you could do. And to try things you may never have even done or made before, and trust yourself. Trust is huge. Reliability is a key element of a chef. Everything I've seen her experience has been brought to her in some form or another, but that to see her use them all has been so rewarding, because I think that's for me is the kickback. That's the thank you. That's the kick into my industry that I love and been a part of for so long, and that I wish for her to carry forth and to share with others. I think she's got a natural affinity to being a leader, a natural affinity to being a teacher, and that I think what you see in some of the next level competitions is that she is empathetic, she is compassionate, she's not just cutthroat. Everything else that she's exemplified has been really extraordinary and has been to the core of who she is. And I think what's refreshing for me is that when I see her on the screen, she is who she is. These are key things that I think make her a great candidate for winning. I hope she wins. I think she's deserving of winning, and I hope that everyone else who's been in this competition walks away with some of those same rewards, that they're not losers, they're not failures, they tried really hard. And you have to remember that trying is the hardest part. Don't give up on trying, that's the key.
I always wanted to try to focus on is to work for female chefs, because they've been in the same positions that I have, which is to say that they have fought extra hard for their seat, and they know what it feels like to put up such a fight to get to where they are in this position of authority in such a male-dominated field. So I have the utmost respect for all women chefs. It is not an easy job, and you have to be an absolute badass to make it. And I think we all know what happens in 2020. The world shuts down, restaurants close, and so I found myself without a job. I don't know what to do at this point. The restaurants are closed. There's very little jobs in the industry that I'm finding that are interesting or even available. I had a real turning point at that pandemic. I fully started reapplying into healthcare. I decided that I would go to X-ray tech school and become an X-ray tech, but it didn't totally feel right. It felt like plan B. It felt like I didn't succeed. But I was still like searching the job boards for any chef jobs that might be available. And one day I stumble upon Truffle Shuffle. I was like, what the hell is Truffle Shuffle? So I show up at this job interview, and lo and behold, I got two goofballs sitting in front of me, Chef Jason and Chef Tyler. I'd met these guys. They were selling fresh truffles to start their business off back in the day when I was at Accarello. So we were buying fresh truffles from them. Truly what got me this position was there was an air horn button sitting on the table. And the last part of my interview, they were like, push the air horn button. And I was just like, what? This is ridiculous, but okay. And so I just went, whoosh, and I just like slapped the shit out of this air horn, and the rest is history. Even before I worked at Truffle Shuffle, I had this little part of me that was like, you know what? Maybe you should be on a cooking show. Because I love cooking shows. I watch documentary cooking shows, I watch competition cooking shows. I've watched cooking shows since I was a kid with Julia Child and Jacques Pepin with my mom, right? So I love cooking shows. And so when the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what? Maybe I could be on a show. And so I started applying. I was reached out by a couple different shows, and again, gut feeling. Just it wasn't the right move. But I continued working at Truffle Shuffle, and I had a really good time. It was really fun. It's a really fun company to work at. On the side, working on my Instagram, working on my social media pages, and there's an Instagram message from a recruiter, and they're like, hey, your Instagram is dope. So thank you. She was like, you know what? You should apply for this show called Next Level Chef. Have you heard of it? So I applied to Next Level Chef. Well, never having heard of it, I obviously have to do some quick research. So I binge watch season 1, which is the only season that exists so far. Turns out it's a Gordon Ramsay culinary competition show. So obviously, like, I have to be on this. He's such a badass. He doesn't take any shit, and he has the skill to back it up. That's important. I applied for this show, and I hear back pretty quickly. And so there's a very long interview process for this as well, right? Pages of interviews. They wanted to know a lot about the kind of food that you would make. What if this was an ingredient? What dish would you make? At this point, I'm just like, I wonder if this is gonna happen, right? Because I mean, I've had 1 or 2 not pan out. I've had 1 contact me that I wasn't stoked about. So, you know, just, I don't know how this is gonna go. Turns out, they want the tug. So, I'm really stoked. I show up to Gordon Ramsay Studios, and I find out that I'm on Team Ramsay. So last season, everybody cooked a dish, and then the mentors picked from there. This year, they did their own research ahead of time and picked their team. So Gordon Ramsay shows up and he's like, I picked you to be on my team. And I was like, no way. Blessing to be chosen from all these contestants. Thousands upon thousands of people applied. 24 got tickets, 18 got chosen, and I was one of the 18. It was just an absolute pleasure. And you know, I have nobody to thank but other people. So not even really myself, right? I have to start by thanking my parents, for believing in me. I have to thank Dominique Crenn. You know, I worked for her very briefly, but she's the reason I got into this in the first place. She's the first person that really inspired me to become the best at this. That first of all, that I could do it in the first place. And second of all, that yeah, you're a woman and this is a bunch of dudes out here, but you could be better. And then I have to thank Suzette, of course, for taking a chance on me when I don't know that she should have, right? A guy with no experience coming in to butcher stuff at a 2 Michelin star restaurant. She saw something in me, she believed in me, and then she saw that I had the hard work, determination, and work ethic to make it happen. Definitely have to thank the wonderful women chefs who have elevated me and helped me keep leveling up to get to where I am today, which is on season 2 of Next Level Chef with Gordon Ramsay. I don't know how I'm gonna stack up against these people. They all have wildly different experiences than I. We're all different ages. We all come from different backgrounds. I don't know how I'm gonna stack up against these chefs, but I believe in my soul that I could do this. You know, that's a little bit about how I got to Next Level Chef. There were moments where I wanted to give up. There were times when doors were slammed in my face. There were times that I was barbecued so hard that I was in tears. I've walked out of restaurants before, but you know, some of the key things that I think have led me to this were my determination and resilience. I don't take no for an answer. You know, I'm a stubborn human being down to the core of my soul. And so I don't take no for an answer. And so if I have a goal, if I want something, you bet I'm gonna go get it. Obviously, it is crunch time on the show. If there was ever a time to level up, it's now. Everything I've ever done has led me to this moment in life, where it is now win or lose, make it or break it time. Luckily, I have the one and only Gordon Ramsay to push me to that next level. Here we are, ready to watch the semifinals and the finale episode of Next Level Chef Season 2. Let's see if I can level up or not. Stay tuned.